Hi everyone, my name's Abul and welcome back to CRTV, powered by City Realtor. This video will be particularly handy for those that own property in Tower Hamlets or are looking to buy in Tower Hamlets. Some of you may have even inherited a property and are not quite sure what to do with it. Hopefully you will know by the end of this video. I won't take too much time on the basics as I have already done a separate video on that, and if you want to see that you can check our channel. But just to quickly mention, like all properties in the UK, your property will need a gas safe if the property has gas, an electrical installations conditions report, also known as an EICR for short, an energy performance certificate, also known as an EPC for short. There must be a fire door in the kitchen. PAT tests and Legionnaires tests are optional. One of the main things that I'll be talking about in the borough-specific videos like this is licensing. The reason being, it can be very different from borough to borough. And as a new or an existing landlord, this can be quite confusing. And you need to get it right because you could get fined.
Licensing can get complicated, but I will do my best to try and summarize the different licensing options in Tower Hamlets. So this is how it works. Let me show you this map to try and explain better. Tower Hamlets Council initially trialled selective licensing in only 3 wards: Spitalfields and Banglatown, Weavers and Whitechapel. So when boroughs implement selective licensing, it means that every private rental property will need a license, no matter the size or number of households. So whether it's a studio, 1, 2, 3, 4 bed, or so on, or if it's 1 household, 2 household, 3 household, they will all need selective license. For the remaining wards, which is about 70 to 80% of the borough, they've implemented additional licensing. You will need an additional license in Tower Hamlets if you are renting to 3 or more people living in 2 or more households. In practice, this usually applies to 3 and 4 bed properties that are let to a group of unrelated young professionals and students. So, what do I mean by household? Well, most councils define a household as either people related to each other, a couple, or a family. 2 friends living together will mean 2 households. However, 1 family of 6 people made up of parents and 4 children equals to 1 household. However, each license will be granted with a cap on how many people are allowed to stay in the property, looking at the number of bedrooms and the size of the bedrooms, and shared areas that the property has, as well as households. So a 3-bed property could allow up to 3 households with 5 people. Therefore, if you are renting to 1 or 2 tenants that make up 2 or less households, then you are not required to apply for a license in Tower Hamlets, as long as it's not in the selective wards, which are, again, Spitalfields and Banglatown, Weavers and Whitechapel. I've left a link in the bio for a map which shows you the borders of the selective wards. You might be thinking, what about larger properties like 5 beds and plus? Well, for those, a mandatory HMO license is required. A mandatory HMO license is required for any property that is occupied by 5 or more people living together as 2 or more separate households. And this applies everywhere in the country, regardless of the borough. So for landlords, this will apply if you are renting a 5-bedroom property with 5 households. If you have a 6-bed property and would like to rent to 6 unrelated people or households, you would actually need planning permission. Licensing can be complex. I would advise you to always check your borough's website for full and further information.
Tower Hamlets did introduce something called Article 4 Direction, and part of that did mean that in Tower Hamlets you will need planning permission to rent out 5-bed plus HMOs. This means that there will probably be a cap on how many properties will be allowed to become HMOs, much like what's happened in Newham. Stay tuned for the Newham video, that will be coming soon. If you are curious about the cost of licensing, I'll leave a link in the description. If you need any help making an application, you can contact us too. I'll leave those details in the description as well. So, aside from being the former home to the Cray twins and Jack the Ripper, Tower Hamlets is actually a very amazing borough with regards to property. You have the exclusive pebble streets of Wapping, famously home to A-listers like Graham Norton, along with a group of other high net worth individuals. You have St. Catherine's Dock, which again attracts some super wealthy people, along with their boats that are docked at the beautiful marina. Then you have Brick Lane and Shoreditch, which are the creative heart of the borough. You also have Canary Wharf, which hosts the second business hub of the city. It is also home to many students that need to travel to the many universities in central London. Tower Hamlets is actually home to Queen Mary University, which attracts thousands of students every year. All in all, this makes the borough super attractive for property purchasers, both from an investment and from a buying to live perspective. The market rent really varies from property to property and from area to area. Naturally, the properties closer to central London are usually more expensive. The Riverside in Wapping and Canary Wharf also have a premium. However, all properties saw a rental price hike this summer. If you want to know more about a certain property that you are looking to buy or are curious about, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll leave my contact details in the description. Should you furnish your property if you are buying a property in Tower Hamlets? In my experience, generally students and young professionals are looking for furnished properties. They are not looking to buy their own stuff, as they may not live there for more than a year, and it's tough to constantly move furniture around. And this makes up a large amount of movers. So it just really depends on the type of property you have. If the property appeals to mainly students and young professionals, then I would probably say do furnish your property. Don't get me wrong, there is a demand for unfurnished property too. Firstly, the council requires properties to be unfurnished. Secondly, people that are serious about staying long term generally want to bring their own furniture or are happy to buy their own furniture. For those of you who prefer to rent your property to the council or let to council tenants, I'll quickly tell you that LHA, the local housing allowance, this is usually the maximum the council will give a tenant towards their housing needs. The LHA for a one bed is £295.49 per week, or approximately £1,280 per calendar month. For a two bed, it's £365.92 per week, or approximately £1,585 per calendar month. For a three bed, it's £441.86 per week, or approximately £1,914 per month. And for a four bed, it's £585.70 per week, approximately £2,538 per month. Tower Hamlets has various schemes. With regards to individual schemes, I will be doing separate videos on each of them, so do keep an eye out for that. There are cash incentives available when housing Tower Hamlets council tenants, sometimes in the thousands. If you want to know more about this, reach out to us and we'll be happy to explain it in more detail. Contact details in the description below. There you go, that's what you need to know before renting your property in Tower Hamlets. If you need any lettings or property management services, don't hesitate to contact us. The details are in the description. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in the next video.